Nashville.
This is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite. And tonight, part 2 of a special report, the Pakistani Islamic bomb.
Good evening. President Carter today disclosed details of his national health care proposal, and the stage immediately was set for a legislative battle involving conflicting plans by Senator Long, who favors less, and Senator Kennedy, who wants more. Barry Seraphin has details.
While still advocating comprehensive national health insurance, the president is only asking initially that Congress approve the first phase of such a program. Even that is a something for everyone approach. It calls for cost-free prenatal delivery and first-year care for mothers and their babies. Medicare for the aged and disabled and Medicaid for the poor would be merged. The government would set the fees doctors could charge. No such rates would be set in the private sector, where employers would be required to provide insurance protecting employees from the high costs of catastrophic illness or injury. Coverage would begin when a worker's medical expenses reach $2,500. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Russell Long is proposing a plan limited to catastrophic coverage. Senator Edward Kennedy wants enactment of a total so-called cradle-to-grave health insurance program. Federal and private cost estimates vary with interpretation, but the overall price tag for Long's plan is put at about $7 billion. For President Carter's plan, $18.3 billion. And for Kennedy's proposal, $35.7 billion. The President and HEW Secretary Califano say Congress won't swallow a plan that big in one bite.
No child of poverty, no elderly American, no middle-class family has yet benefited from a rigid and unswerving commitment to this principle of all or nothing.
There's no more chance of passing a total one-shot national health plan on the basis of my consultations than there is of putting an elephant through a keyhole.
Differences between the White House and Senator Kennedy are reinforced by Kennedy's potential political challenge to President Carter.
I think one of the principal reasons that we've been unable to enact it is because we didn't have a president who was strongly committed to it.
Kennedy called the administration approach inadequate, inequitable, and inflationary. There are a number of other health insurance proposals in Congress by Democrats and Republicans. President Carter's plan will intensify the debate, but the prospects for congressional action are uncertain at best. Barry Seraphin, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Of all the ranges and microwave ovens, does any one name really stand out? At Whirlpool, we make many kinds of ranges with continuous or self-cleaning ovens. But we go further and make one with counter space, too. Variable power and touch controls come on our microwave ovens. But we make one that can even compute start time. Why do ours stand out? At Whirlpool, we just wouldn't make them any other way.
At Whirlpool, quality is our way of life.
You know, all the leading pain relievers are tablets, so why does Stanback still make a powder? Well, it's because Stanback is a powder that it works so fast. You see, Stanback is already dissolved when you take it. I simply mix it in water just like instant coffee, and it goes to work fighting pain, even inflammation and fever, fast. The time was, powders were all people took for pain relief. Now tablets are more popular, but when you're suffering from pain, what do you want? You want popularity or fast pain relief?
Stanback powders, an idea whose time has come back.
Nicaraguan troops and U.S. Marines safely made their way to an airstrip outside Managua today. There they boarded a U.S. Air Force plane for a flight to the Panama Canal Zone to escape Nicaragua's intensifying civil war. The Americans tried to leave the capital yesterday, but as Charles Gomez reports, the main airport road is held by the guerrillas.
The Sandinista guerrillas occupy a small stretch of territory along the critical North Highway, the main link between Managua and the commercial airport. The rebels have barricaded side streets and used these positions to snipe the patrolling National Guard troops. Fighting has been heavy on the strategic highway and in the neighboring barrios. During a gunfight on the road late yesterday, government troops destroyed the leading opposition newspaper, burning it and then throwing rockets into the building. But during a lull today, weary residents, kept indoors by the gunfire, came out and looted an Obisco food warehouse. One said he was for neither side. His family was just hungry, and he needed food to keep them alive. Most residents of the city believe the Sandinistas will try to overrun the capital soon and are stockpiling food in anticipation of the battle. a battle many of them no longer seem to have the spirit or strength to endure. Charles Gomez, CBS News, Managua, Nicaragua.
U.S. officials say they're pretty sure they know the identity of the man who hijacked the Delta Airlines jet to Cuba last night. He's believed to be a former Cuban Air Force pilot, Eduardo Guerra Jimenez. Guerra defected to this country 10 years ago in a MiG jet fighter. The New York to Fort Lauderdale flight with 206 persons aboard remained in Havana 5 hours before returning to this country. There were no injuries. 21 foreign nations critical of U.S. government procedures said today they hope to complete inspection of their DC-10 airplanes and put them back into service within a week. One spokesman called the American government grounding of the plane irresponsible and frivolous. Under the U.S. order, the planes will not be permitted to operate to the United States. 2 persons were killed today when a DC-3 crashed just after taking off from an airport in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The privately owned plane narrowly missed a busy highway and a row of houses. It was a second fatal crash in 2 days involving the twin-engine, prop-driven plane. Yesterday, a DC-3 with 12 foresters aboard crashed in a mountain river in north-central Idaho. 1 passenger is known dead, 2 survived, and 9 are missing, but feared dead. One of the survivors is 17-year-old Bryant Stringham, and today he described the ordeal.
The plane hit, and most of it stayed together. Part of the plane was sheared all the way back along the side, and it stopped just a few inches away from my head. And I looked up at the other passengers, and I seen about 3 or so who were unconscious or dead, and I tried to help one of them, and he kept sinking away from me. It looked like I was going to be sucked under into the fuselage, and then I waited until the water wasn't full of rapids, and then I just kicked off from the plane and swam.
A surprising message to Rolaids users. Tums neutralizes 1/3 more acid than Rolaids. Watch this familiar demonstration. 1 Rolaids and 1 Tums tablet are added to stomach acid. Both neutralize the acid. But on those occasions, when your stomach has even this much more excess acid, Tums can still absorb it. Rolaids can't, because tablet for tablet, Tums neutralizes 1/3 more acid than Rolaids. For acid indigestion and heartburn, take Tums.
Mercine crystals power off plaque to leave dentures 5.5 times cleaner than the leading tablet.
What's plaque?
These are magnified sections of real dentures dyed to show how much plaque builds up in only 24 hours. This bacterial film plaque results in odor and stains. See, plaque resists tablets, but Mercine powers off this plaque to leave dentures 5.5 times cleaner than the leading tablets.
Mercine.
Mercine powers off plaque to leave dentures
5.5 times cleaner.
President Carter flies to Vienna Thursday to meet for the first time with Soviet Chairman Leonid Brezhnev and to sign the second Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty. That will touch off a major foreign policy and defense debate in the Senate. Last week, in a poll of 1,422 persons nationwide with a 3 percentage point margin of error either way, CBS News and the New York Times asked about SALT II. And here's Bruce Morton with the results.
The people we polled like the idea of an agreement with Russia to limit nuclear arms, like it by better than 5 to 1. But they don't know much about this particular treaty. Just 30% of our sample correctly named the U.S. and the USSR as the 2 countries involved, up from 23% when we asked the same question last January. And asked should the Senate approve this treaty, over half our sample said they didn't know enough about it to say. Those who did have an opinion supported the treaty 3 to 1. The treaty did best with young people, with men, more women said they had no opinion, with college graduates, and with those who knew which countries were involved. By 5 to 3, our sample thought the Russians would try to cheat on a treaty, but they also thought by 2 to 1 that the U.S. would catch them at it.
Our sample believes the U.S. is weaker than the Soviet Union today, but thinks SALT would change that. They said by about a 4 to 3 margin that the 2 countries would be equal after a treaty. Bruce Morton, CBS News, Washington.
We reported last night on how Pakistan successfully had shopped around the world for the ingredients of a nuclear bomb. In his concluding report, Bill McLaughlin explores the implications of Pakistan and the Islamic bomb.
Pakistan's plan to build an atomic weapon with Libyan financial aid, to build what amounts to an Islamic atomic bomb, presents the U.S. with a wide array of serious political headaches. Even though India exploded a nuclear device 5 years ago, it still insists that its nuclear program is peaceful. A Pakistani bomb will almost certainly change that. Dr. Theodore Taylor, one of America's foremost designers of nuclear weapons, put it this way.
I find it hard to imagine that we're not seeing the start of an arms race in the Indian subcontinent.
But it isn't just an Indo-Pakistan nuclear conflict that the world has to worry about. Nuclear weapons in the possession of Pakistan could lead to proliferation on a massive scale. Reliable intelligence sources believe Libya wants it to be the Islamic bomb, the nuclear sword of the Muslim world. And Pakistan not only has close relations with Libya, it is also deeply committed to the Palestine Liberation Organization. For example, Western intelligence officials report that Pakistan is training a PLO crew to use a 30-year-old British-built submarine. That makes the Pakistani bomb a direct threat to Israel and to Egypt, which, like Israel, now is on the enemies list of the radical Muslim states. Intelligence officials believe it's unlikely that either Israel or Egypt would allow an enemy in the region to acquire nuclear weapons without a fight. The Middle East is already a dangerous place, but there's the likelihood that it will get more dangerous. And Washington is now concerned that one of the nations most affected by an Islamic bomb might be tempted to destroy Pakistan's budding nuclear facilities. That nation could be India, or Israel, or perhaps even the Soviet Union, which signed a 20-year peace and friendship treaty with India in 1971, and which is now trying to exert its control over Pakistan's other neighbor, Afghanistan. And there are other problems with equally serious implications. Pakistan's nuclear program also means that the entire range of international safeguards against the spread of nuclear weapons, carefully built over the years, such as the International Atomic Energy Agency, set up in 1957, the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, signed in 1968, the U.S.'s own Nuclear Non-Proliferation Act, signed by President Carter in 1978, and the export control lists of the nuclear powers simply do not work. Pakistan proved they do not work.
The scenarios you can invent for a nuclear war breaking out are just getting more and more complex and multitudinous and believable. I am very pessimistic about efforts by, even joint efforts by the United States and the Soviet Union, and even if they included China, to try to do things that will prevent nuclear weapons from appearing more or less routinely in the armaments of other countries.
Pakistan was not even a nation. It was still part of British India when the American atomic bomb destroyed Hiroshima. The U.S. nuclear monopoly lasted only 4 years. We were swiftly joined by the Soviet Union, Great Britain, France, and China. India joined the nuclear club in 1974. It's widely believed that Israel and South Africa either have nuclear weapons or could assemble them on short notice. The list of other nations that could have nuclear weapons within 2 to 4 years cuts across the globe. Washington's prospects of halting the spread of nuclear technology in its deadliest forms are not good. There's a long list of countries lined up behind Pakistan waiting to join the nuclear club. And given the state of the world right now, they may not have to wait too long before a prophecy of Libya's Colonel Gaddafi is fulfilled. Atomic weapons will be like traditional ones, possessed by every state according to its potential. We will have our share of this new weapon. Bill McLaughlin, CBS News, Washington.
The United States, along with France and Australia, agreed today to resettle about 1,400 Cambodian refugees, thus saving them from being forcibly sent home by Thailand. Over the past 5 days, the Thais have forcibly repatriated about 36,000 Cambodians. The murder trial of Theodore Bundy, who is accused of killing 2 co-eds in Tallahassee, Florida, will be moved to Miami. The judge agreed with the defense that overwhelming pre-trial publicity would prevent a fair hearing in Tallahassee. The nation's 5th largest bank, Morgan Guarantee Trust, lowered its prime lending rate today from 11.75% to 11.5%. That action helped push the stock market up sharply in heavy trading.
My old buddy Jim was a great umpire. He was quick on his feet. He's got eyes like an eagle.
I'm still quick because I don't get filled up. I drink light beer from Miller. Light tastes great. It's less filling. It's got a... What's this say?
Here you go, Jim. Try those.
Oh, yeah. 1/3 less calories than a regular beer. Hey, Hey, you're Boo Powell.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer, and less.
This gas nozzle is for unleaded gas. Fits any car. This one is for the less expensive regular. See, they make the regular gas nozzles bigger because a lot of economy cars can't take regular gas. So when you try to put regular into a Toyota, it just won't go. Regular gas won't go into a Chevette or a Pinto either. But when you try to put regular gas into a Subaru, it's a perfect fit.
Senator Herman Talmadge's former wife, a reluctant witness, testified against him today at the Ethics Committee's hearing of financial misconduct charges against the Georgia Democrat. And Phil Jones reports.
The woman who first heard on television in 1976 that her husband of 35 years planned to divorce her, today faced her former husband. She claimed no bitterness. Betty Talmadge started to cry as she asked the committee to excuse her from testifying for the sake of her child and grandchildren. But she was ordered to tell what she knew about money allegedly kept in the senator's overcoat. When handed an envelope she had turned over to the committee and asked what it was, Mrs. Talmadge said, "It is cash kept in a coat pocket in our apartment." Said Mrs. Talmadge, "It was a way of life for years to go to this money to pay for personal and household needs." She said the senator also used the money. Mrs. Talmadge estimated that the coat pocket sometimes had up to $45,000 in $100 bills, but she had no idea where it came from. Investigators have traced the money to a Texas bank, but Ethics Committee lawyers conceded today that they have been unable to determine the source of the $100 bills. Phil Jones, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Federal authorities today ordered their first arrest for gasoline overcharging. A Boston gas station owner who had been charging almost $1.53 a gallon for regular. He faces a $10,000 fine for every day the Energy Department can prove that he overcharged. Deputy Energy Secretary John O'Leary before a House committee today disputed claims by a Federal Trade Commission official yesterday that his department had not been responsive to requests for data on gasoline shortages or that the shortages were contrived by the oil industry. One of the homes in the Nixon compound at Key Biscayne is no more. Eduardo Ortega, a Colombian architect who reportedly paid more than $400,000 for the former president's house, called in the bulldozer this morning to make room for a new home. Ortega said the former Nixon offices and staff quarters had fallen into disrepair. We have two stories tonight about man's efforts to fly by unusual means. One effort ended in triumph, the other in failure. First, Bob Fall reports on the failure. He and cameraman Pat Odell were among those aboard an ill-fated flight that began at Edwardsville, Illinois.
The early morning liftoff was perfect. Conditions were almost ideal as the world's largest hot air balloon attempted to set both endurance and distance records. Within minutes, the flight developed problems.
We have two holes in the top of the balloon that we shouldn't have.
Though the holes were small, the leaks could not be sealed, so the three-man crew, including former astronaut Ed Mitchell, had to burn enormous amounts of propane to keep the balloon aloft. Because of the leaks from those two small holes, this balloon has been burning about 5 times more fuel than it should, and as a result, barely 3.5 hours into the flight, more than half of the fuel is gone. Realizing it was running short of fuel, the crew sought a safe landing spot, but gusty winds kept the balloon from setting down in open fields. And when the crew tried to land in a small opening in a forest, the balloon's gondola smashed into the ground, pitched forward violently, flipped over, and was dragged 50 feet. So, just 150 miles from its promising start, the flight came to rest, literally in pieces. But miraculously, all injuries were minor, and the crew has already decided to make another try for the record. Bob Fall, CBS News, Fairfield, Illinois.
Now, the story of the Triumph, the first man-powered flight across the English Channel. A 26-year-old California man is the newest aviation pioneer, and his craft is called the Gossamer Albatross. Doug Tennell reports.
Chief Pilot Brian Allen's second liftoff from a breakwater on the English coast was nearly perfect, but a broken wheel on his first attempt had set back the Gossamer's departure by more than an hour, just enough time for the wind to come up. The flight crew had prepared for winds of no more than 7 miles an hour, but midway through the 22-mile journey, their craft flew headlong into gusts nearly twice that speed. The weather began to take its toll on the Gossamer's only power source. Skimming just above the waves, Allen called at one point for the escort boats to pull alongside and make ready to put the Gossamer in tow to prevent it from crashing and sinking. But as the boats approached, Allen increased the altitude of his 55-pound pedal plane a few critical feet and found the going a little easier. The coast of France soon came into view, inspiration enough perhaps for the 26-year-old cyclist from California to press on. Almost 2 3/4 hours after leaving England, the Gossamer Albatross settled into the sand at Cape Grisnez in northern France. An exhausted Brian Allen described it as marvelous.
Whoa, just see the surf and the breakers, and suddenly, it just goes, wow.
The crew of the Gossamer Albatross earned a $200,000 prize posted by a British industrialist for the first human-powered flight across the Channel. After he rests his weary legs, Brian Allen plans to go home to the United States. No pedals, thank you. Doug Tennell, CBS News in northern France.
Today, a lot of you men are cheating your wives, and you don't even realize it. Take my husband. Every morning, he puts on Old Spice. It's such a turn-on. And he's off to share it with everybody but me. Why can't he use Old Spice when we're together at night? Maybe he needs a little hint.
Oh, hi, Hattie.
Hi.
Old Spice at night. What a great idea for both of us.
Old Spice. Share it with someone you love tonight.
We're showing Carol that 1 ounce of fortified Total has 100% of the recommended daily allowance of these 9 important vitamins plus iron. Carol, what cereal did you have for breakfast?
I had cornflakes.
How do you think 1 ounce of cornflakes will compare with Total?
I don't know. Total looks hard to beat.
Let's compare.
Total is a lot higher.
If you want 100% of these 9 vitamins and iron, get Total.
That's some difference.
That's the total difference.
It was front-page news all over the world today. John Wayne was dead. In Tokyo, the headline read, Mr. America passes on. In Lima, Peru, it said, Goodbye, Cowboy. Wayne died yesterday in Los Angeles at the age of 72, losing his long fight with cancer. President Carter paid tribute to him as the genuine article in an age of few heroes. He was a symbol, said the president, of many of the most basic qualities that made America great. David Browning takes a look at Wayne's long career.
If you were a youngster watching the Saturday matinees back in the early 30s, chances are one of your heroes was a young man named Marion Michael Morrison.
I've got to take that chance. We can't let those trains crash.
His family had moved out west from Iowa, and after an unremarkable football career at USC, he drifted into the movies and changed the name Marion Morrison into something a little flashier. For over 10 years, he chased the bad guys in B movies and C serials. Until 1939, when director John Ford picked Wayne over Gary Cooper for a Western called Stagecoach. And John Wayne, B actor, became John Wayne, Superstar.
Hey, look, it's Ringo.
Hello, Curly. Hiya, Buck.
Even then, critics couldn't quite figure Wayne out. His acting was nothing special. Some said it was nothing at all. But when John Wayne threw all 6'4" of himself into battle, doing many of his own stunts, audiences loved it. From Stagecoach to the sands of Iwo Jima, he was America's #1 hero.
Hang on! I guess I'm the only fella in Hollywood who never had a part where he wasn't on a horse, a tank, or a ship. I've been in more battles than Napoleon, more wars than Germany, and I've captured Bataan, Corregidor, Fort Apache, and Maureen O'Hara.
The capture of Maureen O'Hara was accomplished without benefit of tanks or ships in The Quiet Man, Wayne playing a retired American boxer in Ireland with definitely macho ideas about courtship.
There'll be no locks or bolts between us, Mary Kate. except those in your own mercenary little heart.
Looking back 20 years later, Wayne lamented the passing of his romantic days.
Because I stopped getting the girl about 10 years ago. Which is just as well. Because I'd have forgotten what we wanted her for.
Off-screen, Wayne was a vocal defender of patriotism and conservative politics, though he resented being painted as a right-wing reactionary. He was a hawk on Vietnam, making a movie about it, touring the battlefields, and arguing that wars should be fought to be won. The Lampoon, Harvard's humor magazine, challenged him to appear on campus to face young critics. He rode in on a tank, took a few snowballs, but politics aside, charmed most everybody.
You look at yourself as the fulfillment of the American dream?
I don't look at myself any more than I have to, friend.
By then, he was in his 60s, a time when many stars have to hang it up. He'd gone through some 200 pictures, 3 marriages, and lost a lung to cancer, but he wasn't ready to quit movies.
They tell me you're a man with true grit.
True Grit truly surprised many critics and moviegoers. It seemed to be John Wayne doing a skillful parody of John Wayne.
I call that bold talk for a one-eyed fat man. Fill your hand, you son of a bitch!
Whatever it was, one reviewer called it the true climax of a great and well-loved career. And it won Wayne an Oscar for Best Actor. On screen, John Wayne thumbed his nose at death many times. And in his last years, in and out of the hospital for a variety of serious ailments, off screen too, he was defiant to the end. The 1979 Oscar ceremonies. After open heart surgery, cancer, removal of his stomach, John Wayne was honored by a Hollywood that knew it would probably never see his likes again.
Oscar first came to the Hollywood scene in 1928. So did I. We're both a little weather-beaten, but we're still here and plan to be around for a whole lot longer.
Well, come to see a fat old man sometime. Yeah!
Wayne had long ago picked his epitaph, the Spanish phrase, feo fuerte y formal. He was ugly, he was strong, he had dignity. David Browning, CBS News, Hollywood.
CBS News will present a special broadcast on the life of John Wayne tonight at 8/7 Central Time. And that's the way it is. Tuesday, June 12th, 1979. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
If you think enough of yourself to take the bestseller for acid indigestion or heartburn relief, consider this. For relief from these discomforts, Maalox liquid has been recommended most by doctors. Now the antacid ingredients in here, plus an extra ingredient, are here in Maalox Plus tablets. Really pleasant tasting, and this handy pocket pack keeps tablets fresh and sanitary. Now you can get Maalox relief wherever you go. For acid indigestion or heartburn relief, Maalox Plus tablets.
Presenting the uncommonly luxurious, incredibly responsive, electronically fuel-injected Jaguars. Sleek, quiet, and superbly crafted. Jaguar luxury is so complete that there are no factory options at all. The amazing response of advanced electronic fuel injection comes in both the Jaguar XJ sedan and the Jaguar XJS. Jaguar, uncommonly luxurious, incredibly responsive, and waiting now.
This has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.
I felt that was very hypocritical.
People talk back to TV on Your Turn. Letters to CBS News, Wednesday at 11:30, 10:30 Central and Mountain Time.
Tomorrow on CBS.
Reports of a possible sale of Nashville's morning newspaper. Details next on Eyewitness News. Stay with us.
We're gonna make you feel at home at Jerry's. You're gonna feel at home.
When you're
you're out with friends for dinner, stop in at Jerry's. The service is friendly, and we have all your favorite meals.
We're gonna make you feel at home at Jerry's.
And at Jerry's, you can sit back, relax, and enjoy the good times.
We're gonna make you feel at home at Jerry's.